It's great to have you with us here on Arc Salt Lake. I'm Brian Schnee. Thursday evening, December the 12th, tonight, taking a look at some vandalism on our public lands and a look at the career of a member of Utah law enforcement who many of you have seen time and time again on your television screen. He's here for a live conversation about his time at the Utah County Sheriff's Office and looking ahead.
1J65, Sergeant Cannon. What a journey it has been. Your unwavering dedication to the citizens of Utah County for 34 years has left an enduring legacy. You've always served with honor and integrity, compassion, and fairness. You're known for this not only in the law enforcement community, but the news media community as well. We're all truly fortunate to have worked alongside you to learn from your example. Enjoy this well-deserved time in retirement. You've more than earned this next chapter. It's my greatest honor to mark your final 1042. Thank you for everything. I love you, Dad.
Wow, and I love you, Dad, on his final 1042, a longtime member of the Utah County Sheriff's Office, retired Sergeant Spencer Cannon,
Yes.
joining us live tonight. What was it like hearing that?
Yeah, it was emotional. My daughter spent 6 or 7 years as a 911 dispatcher, and we worked together a lot. She answered the radio when I called, or she called on the radio when there was something I needed to respond to. So hearing that from my daughter, she doesn't work there anymore, but they allowed her to come in and do it, meant a lot.
You are less than one full day retired, maybe just more by the time of day here. How does all this feel? What was it like waking up this morning?
It was different. You know, last night was a little more different. I had a hard time making myself go to bed because I realized when I woke up in the morning, what I've been doing for the last 34 years would no longer be my responsibility. So it was different.
Well, I'll take a moment here to, of course, say thank you on behalf of every single media member who's ever worked in the state of Utah, or in many cases even beyond. I know you fielded phone calls from all over and have worked with outlets from all over, and there are very few, if not many, if not any other like you. So I'll speak on behalf of everyone and say thank you first and foremost. How are you reflecting on your career?
I feel probably one of the biggest things that I think about is, you know, I went into this expecting maybe to do 20 or 25 years. I ended up liking it so much that I stayed, but at the same time, I am probably the most reflective thing is that I feel extremely fortunate to have worked at a job for 34 years that I loved going to every day. Even on the days when the most awful things happened, we needed to be there and we needed to try to help other people in some way. And so even on the worst of those days, I enjoyed being at work and doing my job.
I can think of some of those days where I was there with you. Just in the last 5 years when I've been in Utah, I mean, immediately comes to mind is the heartbreaking situation out of Eagle Mountain with the two young boys. We were out there that night. I was out there with you the next night. It was very emotional. Just I was becoming a new dad and you were a grandfather, and we're talking about children here. And not everything is easy, but you also had some moments that were a little bit easier in terms of that side, but maybe helping people that needed you. I mean, I remember a couple years ago with someone who lived almost next door to you that you've helped out. You've had a longer impact than just talking to the camera here over the years. So there's got to be some big ones that stand out.
No, those are the one with Odin and Hunter when they were killed. That was devastating for everybody. It's difficult to see. You have to wade your way through that because our job is to do for people things that they cannot do for themselves. And Odin and Hunter no longer could act or speak for themselves. And so it's our job to do that and to continue through and to help them through that. On a lot of situations like that, my next door neighbor that I arrested back in 2008 and then in 2019 I moved in next door to her. And that's an incredibly rewarding experience to be able to have, to see the success that she's now having.
You've been a part of some of the largest pieces of news in Utah history. The one big one that comes to mind for me, which is well before my time here, is of course the Nutty Putty Cave incident, which garnered that worldwide attention. How do you look back at that?
I have said before that you know, we got there late that night.
2009, we got you.
Yeah, 2009. It was the night before Thanksgiving, and it was a Tuesday night actually, and it went into Thanksgiving morning. But something like that where you anticipate that it's going to have a positive resolution because everything we do usually does, and in that case, after 27 hours, after about 23, 24 hours, it became apparent that we were probably not going to be able to do this. And then after they had brought him up a little ways, and then the anchoring system broke and he went back down in, for me to have to go out and do a press briefing and tell them that John had died, that was the single most difficult press briefing I've ever had to do. somebody who was perfectly healthy at the beginning, and 27 hours later he passed away. That was hard. I mean, as hard as it was for me, it was even harder for those who were there with him, and even harder than that for his family to have to get that news.
I know that working with a number of law enforcement agencies over the years, not everyone wants to talk to the media, but you've always found a way to do it, and many times with a smile, even when the situations were tough, making things lighthearted. What have people asked you in your realm over the years about your interactions with the media? Because you always were happy to chat with us, which is very few and far between.
You know, my goal when I talk to media is when they ask me questions, I start talking, and my goal is when I stop talking that they have no more questions. It doesn't happen very often, but occasionally it did, and I considered that a success. In law enforcement, a lot of the people I work with, and it's not a bad thing necessarily, they look at the media as the enemy, you know. I never did, because I try to picture myself sitting on my couch at home watching a story that's happening in St. George or Logan or Vernal or someplace that I have nothing to do with, and how does that impact me? Similar stories to things that we've dealt with, and people have a genuine desire to know, and they feel for them, and they may want to try to reach out and help in some way if they can. So I always tried to facilitate media in getting the story out, because I can't get it out on the broad range that they do, so I need you, and I need all the local media and sometimes national and international media to help get that story out.
How would you describe here in late 2024 the overall relationship between just kind of where we are as a society with citizens and law enforcement?
You know, it's an interesting relationship. I think too often we look at it as an adversarial thing. I don't know, not law enforcement necessarily, but we do too. But I think it's an us versus them thing, and it isn't how it should be, because the public wants help. We want to provide that help, and we should work together to do that. Even in a situation where somebody is the target of an investigation, for example, it's not fun for them, but we are there trying to help them and those that they may have impacted because of their actions. So it should be a relationship where we work together to make a positive outcome more likely.
Something I've always appreciated is the transparency from the Utah County Sheriff's Office. Whether that be, we can't tell you everything, but at least we're going to tell you something, so the public can also stay informed. Well, recently, some law enforcement agencies went over and changed course with radio traffic, which would be encrypting radio traffic. I can think of a couple of agencies out there right now. If anybody's watching, we can't hear you anymore, and it hurts us to get information to people. And we were talking about this, but what are your thoughts on limiting that ability now for not just the media, but members of the public to hear kind of in essence what's going on?
Yeah, I think there are some legitimate reasons for limiting what they have access to. For example, our SWAT channels have always been encrypted, and I think there's legitimate reason for that. Other things though, and I haven't been in on the decision-making process that made the determination to go encrypted. I like to hope that they asked questions, okay, give me some examples of circumstances where the public and media having access via scanner to listen to what's going on the radio has had a bad outcome. If there aren't examples of that, then I'm not sure why we should be encrypting it. I know that I say we, I'm no longer a member of the Utah County Sheriff's Office, but I know the Utah County Sheriff's Office is going to be joining that before too long and go encrypted on most or all of our channels. And that does make your job hard, because a lot of calls I get from media, or I have gotten over the years from media, were something they heard on a scanner and need an answer to.
All right, what's next for you? I know it's a softball, and I know it's broad, but what are you doing next?
That's an easy one. My wife and I love to travel. We've got a couple of trips planned. We're going over to Europe in January, and we're going to go back to New York City and see some Broadway plays. Later next year, we plan on looking into serving an LDS mission someplace, maybe local, maybe outside of the area, but we both love the idea of service. I've been in public service my entire life, my wife as well. She's a registered nurse at the Veterans Hospital, and so it may be something related to that kind of thing, but a lot of time with grandchildren as well.
Well, I hope not to take away any family time, but hope we can maybe do this again sometime, because it's great to get your insight, of course, institutional knowledge, compassion, understanding, empathy, a whole package there that we could use many more of. Thank you for coming in tonight.
Thank you,
It's
Brian.
always a pleasure.
I appreciate it.
Sergeant Spencer Cannon, retiring yesterday, kind enough to join us here on the program. tonight. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Coming up on Arc Salt Lake, after recent acts of vandalism were caught on camera, I sat in on a panel held today which discusses the bigger impacts of defacing our public lands here in Utah. Come on back. Recent vandalism of the petroglyphs in Kane County, along with other instances of vandalism on Utah's public lands, has leaders looking for ways to stop it while educating others. Earlier today, I participated in a roundtable discussion with members of the Bureau of Land Management, Kane County Sheriff's Office, the Utah State Historic Preservation Office, and Paiute Indian Tribe of Utah. We spoke for about an hour about vandalism on our public lands and the deeper impacts, including the cost to taxpayers.
You know, quite often we have crimes committed, and we talk to the people that are committing or that are reporting those crimes. We say, "Did you get a license plate number?" "Oh, I didn't even think to get a license plate number." And so nowadays with cell phones, if people can just think, for a moment and pull out their cell phone, snap a picture, sometimes that's the easiest way to gather some evidence.
So it was a great photo for evidence, because it's right in the act. They were able to document the writing, and then we were able to follow up on it using our surveillance camera that's on the Wirepass parking lot. So just a lot of things aligned for that one.
It's very delicate work to remove graffiti from very sensitive materials such as like sandstone or other rocks, and it sometimes takes a conservator, somebody who would say restore a Monet, from somebody spilling coffee on it for whatever reason. But like it takes highly specialized, and as we know, the more specialized you get, the more expensive, and then also the more time consuming that effort is. So it does take a lot of effort to fix the vandalism, and then sometimes it can't be fixed fully.
It is on the order of thousands to tens of thousands of dollars to have someone come out, a conservator, like Joey was saying, and remediate the site. And like Joey was saying, in a lot of cases, we cannot fix it. So a lot of the vandalism that we're talking about today is defacement of rock imagery, right? A lot of what we see for defacement tends to be scratching, because that's what people have handy. They have a little pocket knife, or they have a key, or they have something that's harder than sandstone. Everything is harder than sandstone. And they do a little scratch in it. When you're scratching the rock like that, you're physically removing some of the pieces of rock. Now, a lot of the visual effect of that is actually from the dust that's released. And so we can remove the dust, we can fix that, but you can't put the rock back.
There definitely has been instances on specific panels that once somebody has imposed graffiti or vandalism onto them, that it loses its sacredness and its cultural significance. And it is because you are impacting a piece where there was a ceremonial action attached to it. And lots of times it's true that as tribal leaders, we will say, I'm sorry, you're just going to have to leave it alone. Like, it's been ruined enough. You're just going to have to let it deteriorate the way that it is. That amount of money that it takes to fix these places taps into people's tax dollars. If you don't want your tax money wasted on something like this, be a good steward, be a good advocate. If you have a friend that's going to do something like this, stop them. Don't let them deface a place, and explain to them, why and what you've learned.
Well, I learned a lot during that hour. That was just about 3 minutes scrunched down into one thing. But basically, don't be that person. And if you see someone doing it, take a picture, because a picture not only helps us here at KUTV2 News, but helps identify what's going on. So let's get to our forecast. The old FAWAD. I just think I did that.
That's right, yeah.
I did that right now. First alert weather day, here we go.
Yeah, as we get into tomorrow, because it's not so much the intensity of the storm. This is not a big storm. It's just the timing that complicates things, and we want to make sure everyone is safe and prepared as you're getting ready for your morning commute tomorrow, because it could be a little bit tricky and messy in some spots, as we've got, some snow heading our way the first time in over 2 weeks, so we'll take it. This will be the first of 3 storms moving in. So we've got the Thursday night and Friday morning storm, and then we've got a weekend storm and Tuesday morning as well. So 3 opportunities here. Temperatures right now up and down the Wasatch Front, we're into the 30s and 40s as we're cooling things down. We're at 29 in Vernal, 32 in Manti, 31 in Panguitch, 27 up in Logan, but thankfully we're nowhere near as cold as what's going on in the Northwest. We've got an Arctic outbreak here up into the Great Plains, -3 in Fargo, 2 in Minneapolis, 18 degrees in Buffalo, so it could certainly be a lot colder. Our storm already inching closer and closer. A lot of dry air involved, so what you see here on the screen, not quite reaching the ground just yet, but we could start to see a few flurries and sprinkles as early as midnight tonight, especially west of I-15. By 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. is when I start to think or when I think that we start to see a few of our snowflakes here across the valley floors along the Wasatch Front. By 5, 6, 7 o'clock, it becomes a little bit more moderate and steady. 9 a.m., 10 a.m. still ongoing here across the northern Wasatch Front, continuing on here through 1 p.m., then gradually tapering off as we get into tomorrow afternoon and evening. We'll get a break Saturday morning. Storm number 2 already moving in Saturday afternoon and evening. That will start as valley rain, but then we could see some valley snow with the colder part of the storm as we make our way into the day on Sunday. So in terms of snowfall amounts, look at this latest run here. Actually inching closer to 1 to 2 inches for the Salt Lake City area. So we'll have to watch out for that. Could see about 2 to 6 inches for areas up into the mountains. As we head into the overnight, again, we're down to the 20s and 30s with those snow chances increasing once we get past 3, 4 a.m. or so. St. George, though, not too bad. We've got temperatures here into the 50s. Maybe a spot shower with temperatures warming up into the mid and upper 50s and plenty of sunshine. We've got 3 storms here in the forecast. So finally some active weather here, Brian, to look forward to as the ski resorts will be excited for. Again, the first storm for the mountains, about 2 to 6 inches. Second storm, 4 to 8 inches. And then maybe another storm here on Tuesday that could provide some good snow to the mountains as well, with temperatures up and down the Wasatch Front into the 40s.
All right, Sean, thanks. You know where to find me on Monday. Somewhere that looks like where these guys are at. Check this out. Wild video. Mountain goats being relocated to a different spot using a helicopter. How DWR did it and why they did this. Coming up. and who's been there who was there for 40 years. We are covering Weber County tonight, where 10 mountain goats have got a new home. The Division of Wildlife Resources sent us this video today showing crews taking the goats from the Tusher Mountains and moving them to Bend Lomond Peak.
There you go. Crews say the relocation is to help a smaller herd group. The goats were brought to Bend Lomond Peak in special transport pods attached to the bottom of a helicopter. Crews will be able to track the goats using GPS collars.
Oh, we got too many in the Tushers, apparently. Happening now, the Wild Winter Art Market in Park City is underway. The market is open till 9 o'clock tonight at the Swanner Preserve and Eco Center.
Okay, there's 19 local vendors selling a variety of artwork, including jewelry, prints, ceramics, handmade wooden goods, and more. Admission to the market is free. Each vendor will be donating a portion of their proceeds to the Swanner Preserve and Eco Center. You can get me my Christmas gift.
There you go. Yes, I'll go there. I got 90 minutes. Have a great night. We're back tomorrow at 7. See ya.